and you gonna murder this one and murder that one. Talking all that bullshit. I'm gonna put it to you like this, yo.
This is for the nerds, this is for the brainiacs, this what we deserve. Go ahead and play it back, you ain't gonna touch me, you not gonna do nothing, you are not above me. I bet you wish you was me, I know it, I know.
What is poppin', everybody? And welcome back to another special episode of the Only Friends podcast. Well, you know, it's me and my only friends, which includes, but it's not limited to, my boy Guapito.
Ooh, do you want to continue our conversation about settlements out of court?
Oh my God! Yes, I do. As a matter of fact,
let me try to recap this real quick.
Okay, let's go on.
And don't interrupt me.
All right, man. I'm glad you're saying it first.
Conrad is under the impression that if someone is being sued, I'm going to speak in general terms here, that if someone is being sued and they decide to settle out of court, is it possible that the settlement is higher than what they were trying to get in court? And I said that's ridiculous. That just doesn't make sense.
Yes, that is true. You did say that. And I said
I could see a world where it would be higher, where you just want to keep it quiet and not, like, you know, let it all out into the court. So you just give them more on the side.
I think this is something. Brian immediately nailed it. Like, yeah. I think there's something that happens with, like, you know, high profile cases, a decent amount.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So my counter to that is that their attorney already factors this when they go into court wanting a certain amount of money.
Yeah, but listen, there's a thing that this is my argument the whole time. Some people would rather not go to court and have everything public.
Right, but okay, I agree with Guapo. So say you're suing for $30 million.
Okay.
And the person's like, fuck, I don't want this to go public. Like, $30 million is, we'll pay at least that. And they offer $30 million, and the person goes on the side like, nah, if you don't want this to go to court, you got to pay me $45 million.
Okay. And
they, you know, begrudgingly agree. Why wouldn't they just ask for 200? Why wouldn't they just sue for $250 million?
Right. And I said the same thing, but I said, let's say $2 billion. Like, I just threw out a stupid number.
Right. Why would they cap themselves on the court number in hopes of, like, that's your negotiating point? You don't start low on your negotiations and then try to negotiate up.
This is exactly what I said.
They just want it heard in the court, get it moving. Like, $30 million is a lot of money, and that's fine to do it by. But, like, they were like, also they want the press on it. They want the attention on the case.
I hear what you're saying.
Okay,
it just doesn't make any sense in accordance to negotiating. Why wouldn't you can anticipate that. You can anticipate that if it's a high profile person that doesn't want to go public, that you can leverage them into a large settlement.
Okay.
So why would you ever start with a number below what you think you can get out of them? Why start at 30 if you think you can get 60?
Well, maybe they think this is what the judge will give them without, like, question.
That's the other thing that I think people don't really understand about these
jury, whatever,
these court cases is that you don't get what you ask very often. Right.
Yeah, but
the judge settles on an amount of that. Like, you never get more. Or at least it's incredibly rare. Maybe there are, like, outlier scenarios where they hear all the case and they're like, wow, this is so egregious that we're going to award you 10x of what you actually asked for. But generally, what ends up happening is you ask for a huge number and then the judge hears the case and says, like, okay, based off of what I heard, it's very clear that this person is,
has wronged you in
some sort of way. And though you're asking for $250 million, I'm going to give you $100 million settlement. Or 100 million. I'm going to rule for 100 million in your favor. It just never makes any sense.
In that way, I'm not talking about it, but I do believe that. All right, for
a little context,
I'll say the context.
Yeah, the context.
So basically,
Diddy might come get you, bro.
So Diddy got sued by Cassie, and it didn't go to court. Like, so all the evidence, everything was never shown, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was like whatever, undisclosed number, right? If she was asking for 30, do you think it's possible with that video, that one video that you saw, do you think it's possible that she got more?
But you keep saying, the thing is her lawyer had access to this video.
You're on camera.
So if he's got access to this video, that number. There's a reason he picked this number. It's because he knows all the evidence that's going to be presented.
Correct.
It's not as if like, oh wait, there's a video. Like
it's like people who believe that they're sharp on, like, I know baseball really well, so I'm going to be a winning baseball bettor. It's like, buddy, the people who make the lines also know baseball really well. They factored in your knowledge when they made those lines. And it's kind of the same thing here. It's like you don't sue for an amount that you think you can get awarded. You sue for an amount that you think you can have negotiated down to an amount that you're happy with. So I think that there's maybe some like wild, like, sure, there might be this like wild outlier. And maybe the Diddy case is it, where they just like, you know, she had some level of blackmail that even the lawyers didn't know about yet. And she just hit him up with a text and said, hey, about that 30 million, it's going to need to be 75. Otherwise, this shit gets leaked, whatever. And he's just like, whatever, I'm a billionaire. Take my money. I don't care.
I think the biggest problem Kanye and I had was that it was just he was so confident and so adamant. He's like, no, like, I'm telling you, she got more than $30 million. I was like, you don't know that.
Like, my thing is, like, if you have videos like this against somebody that makes so much money and, like, does not want this to come out, and you obviously hate that person at this moment in your life, it's like you're gonna have to pay more.
But you keep saying that.
This number is
that number would have been baked in. They would have just said, we're going to sue you for $250 million.
It's like saying, I'm going to invest in pools this summer because, you know, pools are going to be hot. You know what I mean? Like, no, like they factored in the prices of all these companies.
The thing that you keep leaning on is that he doesn't want to go to court. And what you don't understand is that every single out-of-court settlement is it's an active attempt to not go to court. Like, no one who settles out of court wants to go to court. And that's the whole thing. You have to have an upside outside of just privacy. Like,
I wish we had a
lawyer.
No, I wish we could see like all settlements that have happened to see how much percentage people got more.
It's lower.
It's I'm
telling you, it's 99.9% lower than what's
like 1.2.
I'm with Guapo. It has to be like sub 1% that people settle out of court for more money.
Somehow get more money. Yeah,
right.
And then I want to read the cases that happened in, because it's probably the ones I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's fucking people that it's people that if they went to court, like, not only are they going to pay a lot of money, but they're going to go to jail for murder.
Yeah. Everything.
Well, while we're on it, I mean, this is actually a great segue. Did you guys see the new Ashley Madison documentary that's on Netflix?
No, but I'm gonna watch it.
It's so good. And I'm overselling it. I'm sorry. It's good. It's a good documentary.
Yeah.
It's interesting, however, from the vantage point of the business model. Like, this is what I found to be most fascinating about it. It wasn't that, like, they were a site for cheaters or anything along those lines. The data that surrounds it is like wild. So this kind of goes back to I think Guapo was having a conversation with us. Was this on air or off air, where we were asking if the hottest person in the world propositioned?
Definitely off air.
This is a conversation we had in private chat.
It's on air now.
This is undoubtedly.
What percentage of men would cheat?
Would cheat if, like, it were just based off of aesthetics, and then based off of if somebody would ever find out versus if they wouldn't find out. Right. And I got to tell you, the numbers might be higher than I was estimating. So to give a quick rundown of the doc without giving it too much away, it was like a startup in the early 2000s, like 2010. And it didn't really get as much traction as all the other dating sites. Obviously, like, they're selling infidelity. But, you know, they had a couple million users, whatever. A new CEO came in, and he just went hard on marketing. And I don't know if you guys remember the Ashley Madison commercials, but, like, they were basically, like, glamorizing affairs.
I think I don't remember them, like, when they were actually airing, but I think when all the, like, the data leak came out the first time around, like, I remember them, like, showing them.
It was on every like major network and everything.
Yeah, it was like, you know, it was like the playful pillow fight with your side chick in, like, hot lingerie in an upscale hotel type of commercial. And, you know, it really sold the glamorization of like infidelity and leaning into the fact that, you know, just men aren't loyal, whatever. So their user base grew to like 40 million. And what happened was they got cyber hacked in 2015. And basically, like, if you watch the doc, they talk about like how unprotected the site was. They didn't really, they're basically GG and ACR. A lot of backdoors open there, no pun intended. But like on their site, they had all these like awards and, integrity and 100% private and all this stuff. There was this other thing. This is genius, by the way, except for the fact they didn't follow through. They sold you another service for $20 extra, where the second you closed your account, all traces of you having an Ashley Madison account would be deleted.
Wow.
And then they just never executed on it.
Oh.
So they made millions of dollars upselling.
Yeah.
And then just actually never executed on eliminating it, which obviously came to light whenever the data breach happened. So this hacker group basically seized all of their data and records and said, cease to exist as a company or we're going to leak all of this.
Yeah. Listen, we run a subscription site. I'm going to tell you that there's no way they're getting rid of all your information because they want to try to get you back. Right?
Yeah.
Like they want to, like, they're going to.
We go through a third-party platform. If Uscreen wanted to offer that service, it would be very easy to do it.
Right, of course. But it's just like, they have your email address. They have whatever.
Yeah, they were lazy. Yeah. So effectively now these 40 million customers get breached, and they go through like a handful of stories. Like they're kind of like following start to finish this man who is cheating on his wife, and what their trials and tribulations. And it's amazing too, because like obviously they picked the most conservative Christian white guy in middle America to kind of profile and follow, of just like, catching him in these lies where here's the best part about it. Him and his wife became YouTubers like in the mid 2010s and became wildly viral. So they had like tens of millions of followers on YouTube about their happy little family, and he's on Ashley Madison like trying to get all these hookups on the side and stuff like that. And he's a devout Christian. It's like the every message in the YouTube videos were about his what's the word I'm looking for? I don't like his devotion or whatever. And then obviously like he's living the second life. So that was interesting from like a human interest story, but the data breach was so fascinating because once all of it got leaked, it became this media frenzy where everybody that could get their hands on it, because it was basically public.
Right. You're trying to see who was on that list.
Yeah, it was just scouring for like high name profiles.
Is my husband on that list?
And it's kind of shitty because I'm thinking about it in the sense of like, what would stop someone from signing you or me, or you know what I mean? Like,
wow, to like, yeah,
like that. Right. I've never been on that site, but like, and it would be funny if it actually did come out, because it's like I'm single, right? So it's like if it came out like, oh, he was on this, it's like, well, clearly it wasn't me,
right?
I'm single, but yeah, like I wonder how much of that data was like falsified or whatever, and it's kind of ironic to me that like none of these guys leaned into that. Exclusively,
people that have like the same name or something, and
right?
Like you're on there, like, no, it's a different problem, man.
It's also crazy that they just bought into the notion of the site being totally discreet and private. So like they're using all their real info. And it's like,
that's just dumb.
Yeah, just be John Doe, man.
Yeah,
there's a lot of James Smiths out there. What are you doing? Like, get a burner. I mean, come on, this is the mid 2000s. Figure the fuck out.
Right.
But anyway, so somehow when it's all said and done, this gets leaked or whatever, and to this day they somehow still exist. 70 million users.
Stop.
However, and this is what leads credence to Guapo's poll. Okay, so that tweet he just showed demonstrated that 99.9% of the women on Ashley Madison are fake profiles. So 70 million users.
Oh, we're getting catfished.
70 million users, and like 7,000 of them are women.
Right.
And like real women, I should say.
That makes sense.
So in that tweet, it says the pattern was reflected in another data field too. This one, called Chat Last Time, contained the timestamp for the last time a member had struck up a conversation using the Ashley Madison chat. Roughly 11 million men engaged in chat, but only 2,400 women.
What is that ratio? Like, I mean that's just insane.
It's like 1,000 to 1.
This is how I imagine like nude beaches would be, right? You show up to the nude beach and it's just a bunch of dudes there with their dicks out.
So much dick. It's
Like where are the women?
why is there so much cock here? What is going on? Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. I don't know, like from the doc is interesting from many facets, especially like human interest and just like human psychology and stuff like that. But I find the business side of all of this to be like really compelling, and it like sucks me in. I forget who I was talking to the other day about like business ideas. Oh, it was actually my assistant Tammy. Her father had unfortunately just passed, and she's going through the process of like, the funerals and everything else. And she's like, we got to start like a hospice or a funeral home. And I was like, I don't really want to do it. She's like, all they do is prey upon your emotions.
Yeah,
they just upcharge you for fucking everything.
Yeah.
And I go, yeah, like elderly and children are the way to make all the money in this world, because you just prey upon emotional parents.
Yep.
Always.
Yep.
Parents or siblings, like whatever, or children, whatever. You're just always preying upon their emotional needs at the moment, and they're just they're just spending so much money. It's like, man, what a dirty way to just make but 70 million users. I mean, this has to be like one of the biggest dating sites in the world.
Well, if
and it's not even for single people.
70 million users, but that's not real users, right? There's like
at least half of them are.
Yeah.
Right? At least half. I don't suppose that the ratio.
But the other
like
half is fake
bots, I guess.
Bots or something like that.
I mean, I don't suppose that like of the 70 million, 50 million are bots. That seems strange. It's possible, I suppose. They're not releasing their.
Maybe it was more guys. They signed, like every man that signed up, they had a bot.
They have 2 bots.
Yeah, something along those lines.
Yeah.
They just completely ran it like.
And out of those real women accounts, you have to factor in like how many of those accounts are just women that are getting an account just to see if their significant other is on there, because I think that's a real thing.
Oh, it certainly is. There's these Facebook groups called "Am I Dating the Same Guy?" and there's one for every city, and they're closed groups. So like you have to be a woman, like your profile has to be a woman in that city to allow access, and they're really stringent on it.
Oh, they probably go through your profile, make sure you're a real,
and like they'll kick you out if they find out that you're like disobeying the group, if you're spying for others. Yeah.
You know who's on there? Berkey.
Berkey actually got really good marks on there.
Berkey's the only person that gets raving reviews.
I got
on
rave
this
reviews.
Site. I just every time it fucking comes up, they're like, "Oh, Berkey got great reviews." What the fuck?
Well done, sir. Well done.
What else would you expect? I'm a gentleman. There are good reviews for everybody else, man. Literally I've had people show me the profiles on there, and every one of them was like, he pulled his thing out on the first date.
Wait, you're not supposed to do that?
I don't think like at Fogo de Chao, you just whip your cock out and say like, you want a little extra?
God, all you can eat.
All you can eat, baby. Well, while we're talking about food and meat, let's get to a little who's cooking this week.
Ready or not, here I come. Jumped out with my soul leaking, going hard till I'm so eating. No chatting and no speaking, no dapping with slow breathing. Damn, homie, you the man, homie.
We are kicking this week's Who's Cooking off with Caitlin Komeski down there in Farmers Branch. You got it popping.
Doug, wait. It's me, your business partner, Jake. I prepared those numbers about tax revenue. I won't be needing those. I have a foolproof plan. So, first off, pickleball.
You ever been to a card house? It's a house of devil worshippers is what it is.
Y'all, I'm gonna show you straight. You know what this sounds like to me? It's a one-way ticket to litigation.
Doug Polk, you're a very nice man. But you can pack your bags and go home.
Am I qualified to speak on poker? No, Queen. Last time I was in Las Vegas, I saw Celine Dion. No, but when Doug Polk hired me for this gig 10 days ago, I was like, okay, poker tourism, gag.
And what if they block my driveway, these poker people? What if I need medical attention?
I have never had a sip of alcohol or a drug in my life. I don't even let my husband call me a slut in the privacy of our marital bed.
Filth. Smut. Sorry for using the language.
Where it says in Habakkuk, stay the heck out of my town if you don't got goodness on your mind.
You could see criminal fingerprints all over the walls.
And I'm certainly not wearing a butt plug in this meeting right now.
I'm here to talk about bike traffic.
They tried to Garden, they tried in Richardson, they tried in Carrollton, but in Farmers Branch, we walk with the Lord in Farmers Branch.
The citizens of Farmers Branch aren't respecting my cone.
Poker people are good people. Some of the best people I've known in my life that I have played pickleball with.
These poker people.
Poker people.
Poker people.
Poker people.
Poker people. And the poker people, for your information, they really like me. These are tears. These are tears because I'm so passionate about your community having what I have, which is poker, which is great.
That is so good. Shout out to everybody in the video.
Oh, man. Marley is... you guys might... I'm sure you didn't sit through the whole 90-minute meeting. Marley is that woman.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she embodied that woman.
Do you realize...
Doug Polk?
Do you realize Jamie literally took your... Hin's voice message straight out of there?
No, that woman also... She quoted her verbatim, including the butt plug and everything. I mean, it writes itself. Like most of Caitlin's stuff, people think that she's like, this genius who's scripting. No, she's just pulling stuff verbatim. Remember when she did the Jordan Christos thing? And I was like, that tweet was genius. She's like, I literally read his tweet.
That's fucking
verbatim. I'm like, okay, all right, we'll go on.
Man. All right, next up, one of S4Y's own coaches, Andrew Brokus, wins the Sunday special.
Let's go.
Gets it popping. Do you know how much this was for?
I do not.
I meant to pull it up and I forgot.
I'm not sure.
It's usually like 55.
It was like a 10K heads up match. So yeah, I would say like 55, 60.
Yeah, it's usually like 55 every Sunday. All right. Next up in the online streets still, Benny Glazer. This man just wins when it's the scoop. W Coop. He just wins. He has 11 scoop titles, winning another one yesterday. He has 15 W Coop titles with 26 total, winning a title in 13 straight coops.
Is he related to Nikki?
Is that Nikki who?
Glazer. She's won 13 straight roast battles.
That is true.
No, Benny's fucking goating online.
Man, that's so
what's that, like the last 7 years he just won a...
Basically, yeah, like 6.5. So this W Coop will be... this is his seventh.
That is consistency that's hard to match.
I gotta tell you. I would love to know what drives these guys, because I look at some of these titles and he's winning them for like...
The money.
No, he's winning them for like $9,700.
That's a lot of money.
No, that's like a WSOP Wednesday.
But like in like,
bro, when we were playing,
so the thing is, he plays mixed games.
No, I know. But even like the one that he won, I'm not taking anything away from him. Look, what he's done is fucking insane.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know what, like, these guys are psychopaths. They're playing the best in the world for prize pools that are like lower than the fucking Orleans Daily.
The funny
part
love
is, it, man. You just gotta love it. You don't. Some people don't play strictly for the money, for the bottom line. They want to win. They want to compete in that arena and be the best.
When we were coming up for scoops, I remember like playing my first scoop was like playing my first WSOP. Like I had to grind and save and like.
I feel like I never played this game.
That's what I mean. It was huge.
Right.
I remember the first time I made a scoop or W Coop final table, it was a shootout. It was like a $500 shootout, and it was fucking massive. It was like 180,000 to first or something insane like that.
Those days are long gone.
Long gone.
Do they still do the 3 tiers or not?
Yes, they did.
Right.
He actually won the low. That was a low tier. He won a $50 last night. A $55 buy-in for $19,000.
$55 turbo. Yep.
Yep.
I mean, that's pretty good.
Oh, 19K is good.
That's pretty good.
I mean,
no limit. Yeah.
Efro said, "Is there not a leaderboard prizes?" There actually is, because I saw Pads put a tweet out.
I know
about
that
it.
there's always a leaderboard because Pads is always a part of it.
He's actually in second place right now.
It's not a big prize though, right? It's like 5K.
I'm not sure what it is, but I'm pretty sure it's a lot in pride.
Oh, it's definitely a lot in pride. It's
maybe
for
there's
sure
some bets on the
pride.
side.
Yeah, maybe. That's what most people do. But why would you bet against Pads in this situation?
I don't know. I mean, like, come on. Is it like European Pads? Like, these guys are the best of the fucking best. How much are they really wagering on the side? It's just an ego bet at that point, you know?
Yeah.
I mean... Look, I love what you're trying to do. This is very like 2007 poker, where it's just like nobody actually knows what real edges are, and everybody thinks that they have a massive edge, and you know they're willing to just fucking ego sling it for 6 figures. Like, oh yeah, they definitely have 6 figures on side. I bet they don't. You know, I would love to believe that they do, and I would love to fucking turn that into a documentary. Like, let's fudge it. Let's pretend that they do and just like make a fucking movie out of it, because it glamorizes the game in a certain way again. But yeah, I mean, like, it's very unfortunate. I forget if I was talking to somebody that like doesn't have the perspective of like when we were coming up, but it's so brutal now where everybody knows their hourly. Everybody knows. I shouldn't say knows, but they have a good feel for.
Way better than what we did back then.
Yeah,
we're flying by the seat of our pants.
Yeah. So it's just like the incentive to go, like, if when you were coming up, somebody was like, "Yeah, man, you should go play the Venetian Deep Stack 500. Like, you're making $15 an hour." Or let me rephrase. You're making $150 every time you register that tournament. Would that have got you out of bed?
No.
Fuck no. You're like, it's
$150.
Right, yeah. It's like, I'm not going down there for $150. I'll go play cash.
Right.
But it's like, first place is $50,000.
You're like,
and I've won a tournament before.
Okay.
And I could win this tournament.
Right.
It's like, fuck yeah, I'm in.
Right.
You know, let's roll.
I'll see you down at the Orleans later.
Oh yeah, you'll take $150.
You know what I mean?
You know, you think it would have dawned on us when, like, you know, we just played all these tournaments, but we never won any of them.
Speak for yourself. I top 3 fucking everything. I just never close. You know, it's the charity in me. You know, I'm a charitable man.
Right.
I was like, hey, third, second, that's good enough for me, buddy.
Speaking about charity,
flip for that trophy.
Speaking about charity.
Oh no.
Speaking about charity.
Don't do it to my
seemed
behalf.
like a man, Chris Brewer, was not cooking. Yes, as of yesterday,
Why you
he
gotta do it
gave
to my
all
man?
of his chips to all of his friends. It seemed.
That is the face of a
Very
man
nice. Very
who does not have very many chips in front of him. So for context, this was a 1K 2K game that they filmed for Triton. It will probably be. I think they. What do you know what the turnaround time is? Usually like 3 months or so.
Days. No. I think it'll be a few days, right?
No, for the cash games. I think that they just put out Jeju's cash games like.
Oh, okay, maybe you're right.
Maybe a few weeks ago. They like actually go through the full production of it, not like the live stream stuff. And I assume like while the events are going on, they probably don't have a lot of resources to go edit a 16-hour stream. But it's definitely something to look forward to. I think the lineup was like a lot of fun. It was Jason Kuhn, Brewer, as you saw in that picture,
Amadi, Elton Sang.
Yeah, he was in there. I think Tony G was in there for a while. I'm not sure who some of the other recreationals were, but
and by a lot of fun, you mean like the worst game you could possibly play in?
Not at those stakes, man. When you're playing 1K 2K, like, yeah, the recreationals are going to be competent and competitive, but like you're playing 1K 2K.
Who was the recreational in this game?
It was like Elton Tang, Tony G.
All I know,
I want to say it was a mix of 4 and 4. I think there were 4 recs and 4 regs. I'm not sure who the fourth one was. It was Mateos, Brewer.
There was
Kuhn.
an Asian gentleman on the other side of the table next to Elton. I just can't remember who it was.
I think it might have been a rec though that I didn't recognize. Okay. But anyway, apparently they're playing 1K 2K. That turned into like 1K, 2K, 4K, 8K. So a lot of money flowing. As you can see by Brewer's face, he's a little worse for wear. Okay, somebody said it was Tan Xuan, which he's fun to watch. So yeah, you'll have that to look forward to. It sounds like as if Brewer may not have cooked, but the Triton cooked.
All I know is
And
Adrian looks like
Mateo's cooked him.
Adrian
it
looks
looks
happy.
like he has a shitload of money in front of him.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. It has to be.
I have no idea what those chips are worth, but I can assure you that is a lot of money.
What a week he's having, man.
I would, if I had to guess, just based off of the stakes and what Brewer has left in front of him, I would guess the whites are 25Ks and the blues are 5Ks.
And the reds are 100Ks?
No.
You would think the red would be the biggest denomination, right?
Yeah, because they only have a couple of them.
They might, maybe, but they're all in the back. They might just be tipping chips. 1K, 2K to start, and then a bunch of straddles.
Oh, then they gotta have one.
Yeah,
they have to have
1,000
$1,000 chips.
Yeah. Maybe those might be the 1K chips.
The blue might be 1K.
No, the blues are based off of those stacks. I would almost certainly
just because they're in the back.
Think about how many big blinds you have to have in front of you for 1K.
Well,
2K,
here's what I'm
8K,
sure of, Brian.
4K, 8K.
Here's what I'm sure of. The white is not 5K, and the blue 1K, because that means that Adrian only has like 250K in front of him, and
true.
Brewer has like 12,000.
Yeah, that's true.
So the white's almost certainly 25K. The blue is almost certainly 100Ks, or sorry, 5Ks, and then the reds are probably 1Ks.
Okay, there you go.
If I had to guess,
That's pretty fucking sick.
Yeah,
what a sick week he's having. He just fucking rips
Won
off
the
a
50K.
Won the 50K for, was it
Why
2.3?
wasn't he in Who's Cooking? Come on, dog.
Oh, he damn sure is.
Come on.
You know what? You fucked me up. You led me astray. You didn't let me do it. You know, you said, hey, Conrad, we got a Who's Cooking today. And I was like, all right, whatever. Who you got for me? And
This is for the honorable mention section.
Oh, he's just, the honorable mention, the guy who won like 6 million this week.
5 million this week. Honorable mention. Well, I mean, Mateos, you just fucking cooking.
I like how he throws me under the bus for his segment that I took the time to carve out for him. As if he couldn't have done it himself.
You know, all you had to say is, hey, we should have a Who's Cooking today. And I'd be like, oh, yeah, you're right.
Is it Monday?
Huh?
Is it Monday?
We have them on Mondays?
I mean, it seems like a good time. 3 days have passed. Somebody's probably fucking cooked over the weekend.
You have a good point.
Paul Skeen's cooked.
Yeah.
Through no-hitter, through 6 on Friday.
Well, we already talked about that.
I know we did, but he cooked. They actually held. Which is cooking in and of itself. All right, let's get into a little bit more poker talk. I cooked yesterday, motherfucker. You didn't even include me either.
Oh.
Just rip off a big heads up win.
Wait, hold on.
You're not going to talk about
you
it?
You didn't fucking include your goddamn self. You gave me the fucking list. You monkey.
Do you have a brain? Does it work on its own? I mean,
no, I wasn't thinking about it. I didn't realize we do Who's Cooking on Mondays.
Well,
I thought we do it on Tuesdays.
You have no idea what days we do anything on. You just show up and you're like a little puppet. We write you a little fucking note card.
Whoa. Nobody writes me any note card, all right?
You write it so you can read it.
It's true.
Fucking hieroglyphics over there.
Conrad is a Care Bear, though.
I have a Care Bear.
I do like that t-shirt.
Did you guys watch Care Bears?
A little bit.
If you didn't, you're fucking...
You
grew up horribly.
My sister watched My Little Pony a lot, so I got forced into that. I was way more a He-Man, She-Ra type of household.
He-Man, She-Ra?
You didn't watch He-Man?
I don't think I was young enough.
Yeah, it was an 80s cartoon.
I think you guys are a little bit older than me. In that
I was more into the 18.
Huh?
You're 36?
37. Yeah.
You were old enough. Yeah, you were what, 85, 86?
87.
No, 87?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been the tail end, but there was still some He-Man there.
Yeah, I think it was.
You were more 90s, though. You were Turtles.
Yeah.
Darkwing Duck.
Who?
Darkwing Duck.
Oh my God, bro.
man.
Darkwing Duck.
Alter ego.
Dangerous.
Come on, like the three right after school were always
Tailspin.
Darkwing Duck, Tailspin, and the
DuckTales was on there.
DuckTales, yeah.
Oh.
Woo.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I like DuckTales.
Darkwing Duck was the least watchable.
Yeah,
but
I like
Launchpad.
DuckTales.
I thought Darkwing Duck was on Saturdays. It was on.
No, it was on during the week. Yeah. Well, I mean,
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was. Too.
who knows whenever it all went into syndication. But Launchpad from DuckTales was on Darkwing Duck.
He was.
Shout out to Mork. He said Connie and the Schmuck.
Oh man. Yeah, I got to play a regular full ring session yesterday. Broke even, and then Oaken gave me a courtesy.
How excited do you get? Like at the end of a session, it looks like it's all about to end, and then Oaken's like, "Hey, you want to play me heads up PLO right now, Berkey?"
The funny part is like it's him that's excited. and it's me that offers. It's like,
oh, you offer it.
The game broke at like 3:30. No, I guess it was like 4:30 maybe. And I wanted to keep playing.
Okay.
The game broke like 6-handed, so I was kind of like disappointed. And obviously, I was even too, which is never a good feeling. So I was like, I'll gamble. Let's play a little 1-2 PLO.
Okay.
And I shouldn't say I've been hesitant to play because it's not that. It feels like a time suck to me. And it feels like I'm not good enough at PLO and he can't possibly be bad enough for a lot of money to change hands.
Okay.
But then yesterday happened, and now I have a whole new outlook on things.
Are you a PLO heads-up professional versus Ryan Oaken?
I might just play him for the summer. Fuck the rest of the Vegas action.
Honestly, nobody would be more happier than me because I love hearing the hand history.
Honestly, like, you can deal with it. We're not trying to pay rake.
All right, come on over here. Let's go.
All of a sudden, Berkey's back is back to 100%. He's feeling good. He's just like, oh,
my back feels
no
really
pain
good.
at all. I feel great.
I really don't. I worked out today. My back feels fantastic. Spent a lot of the weekend like rolling and stretching. Feel really good. But yeah, ripped off a 97K win yesterday.
Okay,
that's nice.
Versus old Oakski.
How do you feel about that?
I feel good. I don't know anything about Omaha. And the funny part is like, I thought I didn't know anything about Omaha, but I realized that like he doesn't know anything about Heads Up or Omaha. So it kind of balances. But there was a point in the match where twice it happened. Once I didn't know how to read a board and once he didn't know how to read a board. But in my defense, it was kind of both him that didn't know how to read the board that tricked me into not knowing how to read. So I had ace king high on a 9-9-9-8 brick board, and I checked back river, and I had ace king 8. So I had an 8 on the board, but I knew I had ace king high, and I was considering value betting on the ends.
Yeah, sure.
And then ultimately I decided like, he probably doesn't have a hand to call with. I'm just going to check down, and he goes queen 8.
And that's no good.
And I go, oh, I have ace king, and I tabled it, like knowing in the back of my head that it was good. But then I was like, oh wait, maybe the 8 plays, and I go, I have an 8 too, just to like make sure that, just in case, like I had backup. You know?
Have better. I have ace
like
8.
I actually have a better 8 also, but I think the ace king is just good here.
It's true.
And then there was a point where there was a straight on the board. It was Jack 10 9 8 7, and I had 3 pair. So I had like Jack 10 9 or something like that.
Okay.
And I potted river and he called. Sorry, I checked, he potted river and I called.
Okay.
Obviously, I lose to a queen. A queen and a pair. Queen and a pair. Yeah. And he goes board, and I said straight, and I table my hand, and obviously like I win. And he knows that I win, but like at one point he's not sure because he had a pair of 8s. So he had 1 pair on the board.
Okay.
And then he's like, he mucks his hand and he's like, wait. Do I have a straight? I was like, you're in a good spot whenever you're playing heads up PLO against the guy who can't read a fucking board.
Yeah.
You know the funny part? Like when he showed the queen 8, he should have just like
the queen 8?
On the 9
ace
9
king.
8.
Yeah.
You should have just like flipped over the king X, like king in your other shitty card.
I don't know if you realize this, but I wasn't like super confident.
But I'm just saying
that the 8
general,
didn't play in some sort of capacity.
In general, if you just flipped those 2 over and just sat there,
where I get tripped up is like I know that you have to use 2 in your hand, but I don't prioritize the board over your hand. So like in that instance, he goes queen 8, and I'm like, oh, he has 2 pair 9s and 8s. Because obviously none of us have a full house. And then I'm like, no, wait, I have trip 9s. Yeah. That's significantly better.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a much better hand, and I'm going to go ahead and go with that. But yeah, yesterday went pretty smooth. The biggest hand that we played, I think, if I recall, the biggest pot was like 70K. And it was a 4-bet pot where he 3-bet, I think it was like ace 9 6 6 double suited black. He for sure had 6-6. He may have had 8-9 with it. I'm not really sure. I don't think he had a straight draw though, so he may have had like ace 8 or ace 9. He never fucking shows his hand. He literally just refuses to table his fucking hand. And the more he's losing, the more I let him get away with it. Like he'll declare something and I won't let that be good enough. But then I will let him just like show 2 cards. So like we get all in the spot. He says, I bottom set. And I like just let him show me the sixes. And I only see him like flash the other two. And it looked like it was like ace 8, ace 9. I don't know. But anyway.
It was black.
Yeah. I had opened the button with ace, king, queen, 10. Either single suit or double suit. I had hearts though, for sure. And he 3-bet, I 4-bet to 4,500. He called. Flop comes Jack 10 6, 2 diamonds and a heart.
It's like this is like a dream scenario when you have your hand.
Yeah. So I have middle pair and a wrap with a backdoor nut flush draw, and we're like 30,000 effective with 9K in the pot. So about 3 SPR. He just leads for 75% pot, 80% pot. He leads 7K into 9, and leaves himself with like 20-ish behind, 22K behind, which is about pot. And I just don't think I have any decisions with my hand. I don't know Omaha well enough, but like this is a spot where I can't really be a huge dog unless I'm against like the same hand in diamonds.
I feel like you can do whatever the hell you want. Calling is real nice.
Calling doesn't feel nice.
It's nice because like you don't have a flush draw, you have a backdoor draw, so like you can just get it on turn if you want.
No, but the problem is like when he has hands like what he had, he can just like bet, half pot on turn on a turn diamond that doesn't complete my wrap, and I have to fold.
Yeah, I mean,
I did have the queen of diamonds. Not that that's like super relevant, but
like he's also
I was single suited
betting his hand, like on turn and river, like, and when we get there, like he's just betting.
That's not necessarily true.
I mean,
it's a 4-bet pot. If big paint cards keep coming, like bottom set doesn't feel all that great. I told you how I would have played his hand. I would have check called. I would have check called. Turn would have went check, and then I would check folded river.
Yeah, agreed.
So yeah, like I don't think calling here with pot behind with such a vulnerable hand is ever really good. I think you want to run your equity. I feel pretty confident in that anyway, especially with only 1 SPR behind. Like you're just gonna face pot on like turns of 10. That's just like he's gonna be full some of the time. He's not gonna be full other. You're just like forced to bluff catch with a hand that now is gonna be way lower in equity on a lot of turn cards.
Yeah, it's probably better again.
So I run it. He calls off with bottom set. And the first run, I think, was like the 8 of hearts, giving me a backdoor flush draw, river, queen of diamonds, giving me the ace, king, high straight. And then the second run out was like the queen of hearts on the turn, giving me the ace, king, high straight again, and the flush draw. And now he's like basically dead because I now also have queen 10 for full house blockers. So he's basically drawing to a 4th 6 or a paired jack. And he bricks out. So I scoop that one, and man, lock the fucking doors. It was on after that pot. It was fucking on. I was like he was beside himself angry, like just losing it about how bad he runs and how good I'm running and how lucky I am and all these other things. And I look at him and I go, I would take my 4-bet range versus your exact hand on that board texture and run it for infinite.
Yeah.
I'm just going to have so much equity. It's like, yeah, you're going to stack me sometimes when I have naked aces. But it's even hard for me to just have like naked aces. Like I'll still probably have like ace king or ace queen and still have like some additional equity. So like whatever I'm 4-betting.
He doesn't stack you because you don't get it all in on flop.
I'm saying I would just run it like hot and cold. My entire 4-bet range versus his hand on that board.
Sure.
Like I would just put in 35,000, take my whole 4-bet range versus your exact hand on that board, and we can just run it for infinite. And he's just like, "You're an idiot. You're such an idiot. You don't know anything about PLO." And he's like, "You think you're running so good, like blah blah blah," or he's like, "You think you're playing so good." And he's like, I'm playing so well. And he goes, "You actually think you're playing better than me?" I go, "Do you want my coddling of the fish answer, or do you want my honest opinion as your peer and a friend?" He goes, "Both." And I go, "Okay. Well, I think you're getting tremendously unlucky. PLO is a very swingy game. You're going to see a lot of money change hands, and it's actually quite ridiculous that you've lost all of the big pot. I mean, every single big pot you've managed to lose, and it's just not really going your way. Like basically when we're stone flips, we're chopping those pots, and when you're behind in big pots, you're losing them, and that's really unfortunate." He's like, "Yeah, I know. All right, what's your other answer?" I go, "You're atrocious." You don't know much more about PLO than I do, if anything at all. You're too tight, literally, in every single aspect of putting money into this pot. And I'm telling you as a friend, I'm going to beat you out of every penny that you're willing to invest in this heads-up match. And he goes, oh, we'll see about that one. I was like, lock the fucking doors, baby. Man. We're playing from now until eternity.
We got to get him on the show just to see if he actually talks like that.
Yeah. Well, if anything, just for the sound.
Well, you can actually go watch Brian Oaken on season 4 of Poker Out Loud.
Oh, that's right.
He joined
he was
us.
On it. Yeah.
He very elaborate talker. So for those of you who are S4Y TV members, you've probably seen him. He's there. If not, he actually mops me in that season. So, kudos to Oaken for that one. I wildly over-adjusted and got absolutely smashed. So feel free to check that one out.
Do you know? Sorry.
Go ahead.
Do you know in that exact hand what your
equity is?
Yeah.
I said I thought it was like 55-45.
In whose favor?
Me.
Okay.
I'd be shocked if I'm a dog.
You are.
Really?
Yeah.
How much?
It's probably because you have he has a 9 in his hand, but it's 42.
Well, I don't know that he had a 9 in his hand.
I know, 42-57.
42. I'm only 42%.
Yeah. And if you put an 8 in his hand, you're 44.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Maybe
run
he
it
was
forever.
Right.
No. He's not right.
Yeah,
He's
right.
not
No,
right.
I know. You mean your range.
His is theoretical to his range.
Right.
So
I would still have
range.
like pocket jacks, pocket tens.
Right.
Like I have all these sets and better hands.
You have like wraps with flush draws and
top 2 with the straight draw. I wonder what that is doing against there.
I'm surprised that I figured the backdoor flush draw would be worth more. Maybe not. Maybe only at depth where we actually have to play out streets instead of just getting it all in. Anyway, whatever. I'll take my 42%.
You are lucky.
Yeah. Super lucky. I fucking scooped his ass. I guess I'm just running good. I guess lock the fucking doors,
Mm-hmm. We'll vote to China.
That's right.
I'm really interested about
Let it run out of gas.
One time, hold on. So if you have King, Queen, Jack 10 with the backdoor hearts, it is your 47.
Okay.
So that's interesting.
Well, he can't fill up.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
No,
He can't improve. He's just stuck to his equity with bottom set.
Yep.
What was I going to say? Another thing, speaking of people coming on the pod, I spoke to Jesse Sylvia. He's going to be a regular guest this summer during the WSOP.
All right.
What?
So we're getting prepped and ready for the WSOP grind. It starts next Wednesday already.
Man,
One fucking
so
week.
Quick.
Man, we're not ready. They're not ready. No online schedule yet.
Nobody's ready.
No one's ready. Lock the doors.
That's a good sign, though. Like, everybody's so mad about it, but, like, you guys don't realize that means we might not be playing with this ancient software.
That's true.
We might be getting good software. So
right.
fucking sit your ass down,
Bro, I'm with
shut
you.
up, and we might have Michigan along with us.
I say
right.
Thursday.
One time. Let's go.
Thursday. Let's go.
Cakewalk.
I don't know about Thursday.
Being
I know,
optimistic.
it's, whatever Guapo says.
I mean, honestly, like, when does it? What does it matter when they announce the online schedule? They could just run it all the last 2 weeks of the World Series, or just run 20 events the last 2 weeks. Who
I don't
cares?
think it really matters.
I
think people just want to sell their packages and stuff.
Yeah,
but you're
of
also
course.
doing that probably separately online.
Yeah, just do a separate one for the onlines. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Last thing before we get to In the Muck, this is the bigger talking point that we were supposed to have today. I kind of just like let it die off when Casey tweeted last week because I thought that the responses in the thread were just like pretty good and maybe it wasn't worthy of having a bigger discussion. But actually, especially after Mike tweeted about it today, I think maybe it is because to me, there's a very clear response to all of this that is black and white, the only way to handle this situation. But there seems to be a lot of debate over it and a lot more than I guess I would have anticipated.
Yeah. So what's the question exactly?
So the setup is, Casey said, I would love to hear some opinions on the tournament champion seat when it comes to backer pieces. In my situation, I won 2 rings. The first one that I sold for, the second one I had all of myself. What is appropriate to give those who had a piece and why? And then there was also a poll, and it came back 58.3% nothing, keep it all, 25.5% the same piece that they had, and then 16.1% a reduced piece.
I'm going to say the people that voted nothing, keep it all, have never backed anyone.
All right, so it's actually this is very funny because basically tournament champion, because all right, so I wonder how this would look and all the responses would look if she only had one ring. Because knowing that the tournament champions, if the money does not come out of the prize pool, I think it's all her. If the money comes out of the prize pool, I think it's not all her. I think everybody gets their piece.
Okay.
And I don't think I'm out of line by that also. And
I wholeheartedly agree. I think that's the only answer to this.
Yes.
And I think it's like very black and white. If it's a free roll, an additional thing like a dinner voucher, the people who bought a piece of you they're not entitled to any of that EV.
Wait, they don't get part of the dinner voucher?
X amount of fries?
Like when I play cash and I sell pieces, people don't get a piece of my comp.
Yeah.
Right. Of
You know,
course.
like that's just not the way it works.
Right.
It's whatever. Like that's my EV for being there and for slaving away. You're paying for what you think is a good investment.
Right.
But when it's taken out of the prize pool, which is the thing that you're investing into, I think it's black and white that even if it's not predetermined, it is an unspoken thing that you are entitled to whatever piece you bought. So if you bought 10% of that event that she won and the money is being withheld from the prize pool for the TOC, then you have 10% of the TOC, no matter what happens moving forward.
Now, is this the same when she wins 2 seats? Like, what if the second?
You can't win 2 seats.
I'm sorry.
When you win the second ring, when you win the second ring, you know that you're investing into an event that has money withheld that you are not going to have action on.
Okay, yes. That's how I envisioned it to work too.
The money's taken out of the prize pool.
Correct.
Yes.
Only if the money's taken out of the prize pool. I agree with Conrad wholeheartedly.
Yes.
If
like
the money
she can't win a second seat,
correct.
So
you can't shower your backers,
right?
Off of like winning a second seat.
Now, if you're selling, I think it's important to do additional due diligence to make sure that these conversations don't get awkward later. And say, hey, I already won a ring. Just so you know, you're buying a piece of me in this event and they're withholding X amount for the TOC or they're not withholding X amount for the TOC and you will not have a piece. Right.
So actually, I have a quick question. Like what happens like back in the day, you used to get fucking Rolexes and shit like that. Now, if you win a Triton event, you get a $200K
that watch.
Whatever watch. What do you think about like stuff like that? It's like
the main event bracelet is worth like a quarter $1,000,000 or something crazy like that.
Yeah, but it's like that's different because the main event, the main event
prize pool or not?
It's got to come out of the prize
pool. If it does, then
no, it doesn't. It comes out of the rake.
So I think the main event bracelet is different than a prize like
Agreed.
a watch, like a Jacob's watch.
Agreed. You can't sell the main event
But
bracelet.
as a backer, aren't you participating in that rake?
Sure, but it like rake back in that form. I don't think
you can ask the winner to pay for it, and I don't think they're entitled to any.
Yeah, it's like you have to sell your
like the thing about
But I think as somebody who's invested in these situations and somebody who's been on the other side of being invested in, I think it's abundantly clear that like when you win prizes that have a cash value outside of the main event bracelet, I think that's the only caveat.
Right.
Outside of that one, because it's so personalized, when you win a cash prize additional to whatever it is that you're playing, whether it's a tournament or a cash game or whatever the case may be, like they were giving Hubo watches for the WPT cash streams for the biggest winner.
Okay.
And it was worth like $20K.
Okay.
You have to sell that piece, or you have to give your backer their right piece of it and then keep it yourself.
In the most extreme example, it would be like you plucking a bounty in a mystery bounty and then not paying your backer, like, you know what I mean?
Or you just paying your backer the average flat fee of the bounties,
right?
Like making some sort of deal where it's like, okay, you're gonna buy a piece of me of this mystery bounty, but you don't actually get to gamble on the bounties. Instead, you just get paid a flat rate.
Yeah,
because each bounty will be worth $500. So I'm going to eat all the variance as the player, and I'm gonna sell you the bounties at face value.
Yeah, we completely agree on this one as well, because I would definitely say that the watch is toward the prize pool. Like it's like it's toward the split to backers.
Yeah, because it can be repurposed.
Yeah.
What you seem like you have a different take, Wap.
I'm not informed enough. I just kind of feel like if I'm giving you money to play, like, give me my money.
Hey, wait,
give me my money.
Well, I think it's different if it's a long-term backing deal. So if it's a makeup deal, then you absolutely have a piece of the TOC.
Yes.
because
Absolutely.
like you're like in that instance when it's a makeup deal, a big part of the player being in action is you affording them the opportunity.
Yep.
That's not necessarily true with selling, right? Like they could sell to literally anyone and they could sell to anyone at any price, and they could not sell and just one-off it themselves this time, or whatever the case may be. But with a makeup deal, it's a long-standing agreement. It's a contract of sorts where I'm investing in you and everything that you do. So the things that you reap as a reward should also be a part. Like it should always. You should just treat
just a package deal. With
you should treat the backing business as its own separate entity, right? So it's not Landon that's winning things. It's the backing conglomerate that's winning things.
Exactly.
And if that includes a Freeroll or a Hublot watch or whatever the case may be, that value is going back into the business and it's reducing the makeup number or it's increasing the profit margins for everybody to later split at their rightful amount.
And to be fair, I think anybody that gets backed would want this. Like it's just like
no.
I mean, not want this, but like,
bro, you want to talk about setting a precedent? You guys don't know this. I'm gonna fucking out my man here.
Who you having?
Back in the day, like in the earliest 2000s, Bax was like the biggest backer in the world. He had the largest stable by far. Was the most successful stable. Him and Sheets, they had like everyone on their son. They had Kata when he won the main event. Yep. They had a bunch of others throughout the years.
They had everybody that was coming up online and like
for sure.
Everybody.
They had so many smashers. What was the chess star's name? I keep wanting to say Ian, but that's not right.
No, it's Alex?
No. This was like in 2006. He had like long hair. Yolan, yeah. Thank you, Efro. They had him. They just had a bunch of guys who either final tabled the main event, won the main event, whatever the case may be, right? And Bax had a very harsh agreement with his horses that whatever sponsorship money they incurred from their main event appearance was half his.
Yeah.
Because they would not be in that opportunity without him.
I agree.
At the time, it was really controversial.
I agree.
Like, I remember at the time hearing that and being like, no fucking way.
Right.
And I compared it to the food voucher thing. It was like, well, what am I going to give this guy, half of my fucking dinner?
but you're wrong. You look back at it and say you're wrong.
I can see an argument both ways. Well, because of like how the sponsorships were garnered.
So like I would say like if
imagine he's backing like Will Fiella in 2006. Will doesn't need the final table of the main to get a big sponsorship deal.
He
was so gregarious.
I
and
was just about to say that.
outspoken.
If you're using your likeness to get the sponsorship deal, then I don't think that.
But that's effectively what the contract would be is that he has half of your name and likeness.
Sure,
man,
you're using your likeness, but you wouldn't be in the tournament
Not only
for people
that,
to
but-
see your personality
Yeah, you
if
kinda
they
right.
weren't
But as a
backing
backer,
you.
and you're looking at different people to put in your stable, you're like, yo, this guy's got a great personality. Like, I think I can get a little extra money here and getting the sponsorship deal.
I don't think that's.
I
I don't think that's
like,
fair.
all right,
It's all
so
fair, man.
because like if you think about it, like all right, let's say that you get a backing deal outside of the main event. Say you just like whatever Stars hits you up one day. They're like, hey, listen, I want to give you. We see you. I want to give you X amount a year.
To be clear, I don't know that this carried over to like contracts that they would have post.
This is basically like you get patched up.
Yes,
you get on a
correct.
feature table.
It was
They
the
patch you
deals.
up,
Right.
Right, and they patch you up. They give you like $10,000.
Right. It was the patch deals because like you're not doing any work. Beyond the tournament for those
this is the
patch
thing.
deals.
They were so lucrative back then that the backs in them they didn't want. And they had so many horses. It was so likely that they were going to get probably a bunch of people on these feature tables. They didn't want to lose out on literally like. Maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I made $60,000 just for playing day 7. I was on the feature table for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I was on the side table for like 2 hours. So between those two tables alone, I got I think I got like 40,000 for the feature table and then 10,000 for each hour at the side table. It's like $60,000.
But it's funny because that money obviously does not come out of the prize pool. It doesn't come out of the rake.
So that is interesting. That's a really good point.
I think the fair compromise. So like you say that. Obviously, I'm wrong. I don't. First of all, I think it's very clear that they should not be entitled to any contract signed thereafter because you actually have to do work, right? Like if you're an ambassador, they're after for like stars or full tilt. Which to be abundantly clear, like I don't want to have anybody mistake this and make it seem like I'm throwing backs and sheets under the bus. I'm pretty positive they were hands off with any contracts that were signed thereafter. I don't think they had a piece of Kata's stars contract thereafter.
No.
We're just talking the patch deals, which was effectively free money. I think the healthy compromise here is like an 80-20 split.
Right.
Or 75-25 split, where it's very much in favor of the player. And another big reason why, like, back in the day, I would have overreacted to something like this is because for a lot of people, that was that was your home run opportunity to like start a career.
Right.
You know, like for me, for instance, I finished 41st or whatever the case may be for 206,000. I'll never forget this. When I busted, I was happy. I was so relieved.
That was the last time you were happy.
I was so relieved to be out of the event. Like every single place that I finished, I mean, looking back, it's so fucked. But like every minute that went by that I sat at that feature table and didn't bust after I was already making 200K was just like an amount of pressure that I had not prepared myself for in any capacity. And, you know, looking back on even the hand that I busted with the trip sixes, it's like, yeah, I mean, I took a line that was pretty greedy, but I also called off my last 20 blinds in a spot where like he has 0 bluffs. And it was almost just to see it and just like lament the fact that I got that unlucky and live with the, you know, like, oh, what better way to bust than like boat over boat or trips versus boat, whatever the case may be. And then just go on my merry way with my newfound riches that I'm going to parlay into millions of dollars the right way that I'm prepared to do through cash. So it's like that amount of money plus the additional 60K from full tilt just thrown into my online account, which I later then go on to get, you know, like third in a big F tops for like another 100,000. You know what I mean? Like I parlayed that into a couple 100,000 as well. Yeah. It's like all of that was just my future being laid out before me where it's like, okay, here's your opportunity to go get rich by like being a lunch pail guy who clocks in and clocks out every day at stakes that you can be competitive at, right?
Yeah.
So if I instead was backed for that scenario and I had to give up half of my winnings and maybe some makeup, so like maybe I pull like 70,000 from the score, and then on top of it, the additional 60, like imagine the difference between having 130,000 versus like 90 or 100K.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's massive at that point. So, you know, like I totally see both sides. I just think when it comes to name and likeness type of stuff, you have to be pretty generous with the person who's kind of being exploited. Like it's my stupid face that's going to have a full tilt patch on his fucking forehead for the rest of my career. You know, it's like, I'm happy that I was compensated appropriately for it. But yeah, I don't know. I think it sparked some interesting conversation. It was surprising to me that McDonald didn't have a stance and he actually just asked. You know, there were a lot of people who chimed in. Pads kind of agreed as well. He said long-term backing, yes, you would have a piece. Buying a piece, no. And Mike just said, how come? Pad said, it's not a singular event that qualifies for this tournament. Player A could have already qualified or win something to qualify again in the future. With longer-term backing, you'll have an interest in all of the events. If you got accumulating stacks for the winners event, then maybe there'd be a case for you having a diluted piece, which I actually think is like a pretty good take. Yeah, a lot of people in this thread kind of chimed in very similarly to Casey's thread. Casey's thread was a lot more all over the place. It was surprising to me to see how polarizing it was.
I think everybody like bypassed the part of taking money out if like money comes out of the prize pool.
I'll admit that I overreacted when I first read it because I thought I thought they withheld.
If they did,
they don't. I looked it up.
You looked it up?
Yeah, they do not.
Okay,
no.
so
it's like a free roll.
It's a stone free roll, so it's basically rake back for the bracelet winners and ring winners.
It's cool.
In which case, like, yeah. I mean, that's pretty great, and you should just keep all your stuff. I will say that, like, I think a very easy compromise is to sell your backers a small sweat.
Yeah.
You know, just to keep them happy. You're basically getting free money. Again, you're just like cashing in rake.
Mark them up, or
I mean,
I feel like
tough to mark up a TOC.
I feel like at some
you're
point,
literally only playing winners.
I feel like at some point we did say the opposite about the money coming out of the prize pool. Like when
I
it
think
got, so we probably
I
walked
may have
that back.
misspoke.
Yeah, I think we misspoke. When
I'm pretty sure in the past that they withheld, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But I remember when I got heads up. Oh, wow, that was a long time ago. 2016, 2017, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Man, ring events used to be so big. I guess they're still pretty
big. The mains get big. The mains get huge everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, fucking
the one I got heads up.
Cherokee's 300, 400,000 for first.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
That's huge.
That's true. That's massive.
It's a 1,700, dude.
Yeah.
These things are fucking massive.
Yeah, the one I got heads up in, I got 175K for second. So first
That's
was probably
huge.
like 280.
320?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Probably like
Yeah.
100K heads up match.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
I'm miserable for second.
I didn't care. I couldn't even. I only played the event because I didn't have a seat in Ivy's room. It was like, it didn't even feel like anything when I got second. Like first would have maybe made me smile a little bit. Man, I'm so fucking jaded.
You're dead inside.
I'm in the muck. Let's get to it.
All right. All right, we got a user submission here. This is from Babaloose. That sound right? They're playing 100 No Limit online, and they were in I believe, a class. Like it sounds like they're in college, a bio class, and they were on break, and they were running back to their computer, and so that's why they didn't 3-bet here. So we got for some reason, this replayer doesn't do decimal points, but what actually happened is 50 cents a dollar. Under the gun +1 opens the $2.75, and we flat in the cutoff with Ace of Clubs, King of Hearts, and it folds back around everyone else folds, and we go heads up to King of Diamonds, Jack of Hearts, 9 of Spades, and it goes check, check on the flop. Turn is the 4 of Diamonds, bring backdoor diamond draw. It goes check. We bet 4 into 7, and they check raise to 21. We call. The river is the 3 of Diamonds, completing the backdoor flush draw, and now they just go like 3 or 4x pot, 176 into 47, and I believe he didn't say, but I think we folded. Pretty sure we folded.
Babaloose, did you fold?
Yeah, Babaloose says, I was in the muck big time here, as I know he is capable of bluff. I was curious what it takes to make this an actual calling spot. And he said this particular opponent who he's played against a lot, and everyone knows this person in the pool as very aggressive, tries to bully the table, is always making these huge bets like this.
No. Sorry, buddy. Babaloo, listen. He was about to fuck you. Let me tell you something right now. This hand was the motherfucking nuts.
Mm-hmm.
You actually, with that, like you were about to pay a man.
He flopped it?
Yeah. No. He just runs out of diamonds.
Oh, diamonds. Yeah. Right.
Check, check, flop. Check. What was the turn?
Number 4 diamonds.
Yeah. Check raise?
Check raise, yeah.
Yeah, he probably has like ace 10 of diamonds or something along those lines.
Check raise when he turns the draw and then gets there and just gives him the business.
Sorry, Babaloo, you made a lot of mistakes here, my friend.
Oh, yeah, but besides
Go
that.
on. Let's hear it.
First off, he didn't 3-bet pre.
Well, yeah.
He was ran back to his computer.
Right. He said he didn't.
It's one of those things. The panic happens. You just hit the call button. You're like, I'm not folding. Oh, my God.
Yep. He said this hand starts off uniquely because I'm rushing back from a quick bio break and see
bio break. I love it.
Yeah. And what's a bio break?
He's shitting.
Oh, okay. Oh. I literally thought he was like in a class, like a bio class. I'm like, biochemistry? Oh, bio break. I got it. He said, I don't really have time to get a raise in that wouldn't be a min raise and rushed and hit call.
Well, the min raise is better.
We'll give you a pass.
Rob, I'm surprised that you're being so critical of the
it might
non 3-bet.
Maybe it mixes, It might mix here.
Hold on a second. Why are you surprised?
Because it might be, you're saying this is pure 3-bet?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, you're only saying that because you don't play calls from the cutoff.
I mean, you have ace king. You have a very
We're
good
pure on the
hand.
button.
I'm also 3-betting.
Pure?
Yes.
Okay. Ace king is always going to mix versus under the gun 1 if you play calls.
Is this 6 max or full ring? I'm sorry.
Full ring.
Oh.
As far as we know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he said under the gun 1, so I assume that's not
This is
hijack.
This is Landon's case of, if you say under. Yeah, right, exactly.
I don't think it's a big mistake here to just ace king 3-bet pure.
Well, it won't be a big mistake, but it'll make your calling range.
At these stakes, I just don't think it's.
It'll make your calling range pretty weak.
Yeah. Guava doesn't call. He has no calls there.
Yeah.
He's 3-bet folding.
Also, I don't like not
also,
betting
what
on
happened
flop.
here on the turn? Like it goes check. Oh, okay.
Yeah, check, bet. And
How did we just skip over flop? We went check.
Yeah, that's the part that I was trying to get.
Okay. So
we're all in the muck.
I mean, this hand is just so confusing.
I'm
like,
not
why?
all right, so
I know.
I think the flat pre is fine. I think the flat pre is fine.
Yeah.
In spite of the fact that it was just necessitated based off of still wiping his butt. I think that, like whatever, like if you pure 3-bet ace king, it's kind of whatever, but like you also just don't want to always be putting in 200 big blinds versus that tight of a formation. And if you're going to play flats, you need to have some traps, which are going to include ace king. It's going to include queens, maybe even some kings. You're always going to have a mix of these types of hands. You want to be able to handle squeezes behind you as well. And the only way to do that is to protect these ranges. So, maybe between ace king suited, you're going to have 20% calls with that hand class, give or take. This is like a really high frequency c-bet spot for out of position. And I think with his exact hand, checking back is quite reasonable. I would not check back a hand like king queen. It has strong enough blocking properties and too much equity to forego a c-bet. But with a hand like ace king, getting check raised is a fucking nightmare because you're just dead versus the nuts. And you don't really have a 3-street hand here. Not that king queen is necessarily a 3-street hand, but it's like a little bit more mergy where you can potentially get 3 streets based on how you improve. But I would need 2-pair plus here to start initiating betting at a really high frequency.
So you don't mind his check back?
I don't mind it at all.
I don't think we bet here very often.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I
not on coordinated boards.
Respectfully
like
disagree.
Okay. I just don't think we have a lot of c-bets. We're never really betting much jack X here when check 2. We'll bet ace queen as a bluff, but we're not going to bet too much queen jack 10 type of stuff. We'll probably bet ace 10 suited when it has a backdoor. Or
I think I would check back king queen and bet ace king.
Okay, I definitely feel very confident about that one.
Disagree?
Yeah, I'm very confident that we'll bet
king queen
king queen
and check back ace king.
Yes. Again, it's just a byproduct of
getting.
We're just fucked when we get check raised. We're never fucked with king queen.
Yeah.
And 9-10 jack 10 might bet at some small frequency, but it's not going to be really high. I don't think we're going to start bluffing our small pairs. That's a really good indicator as to whether or not you're going to have a high frequency c bet. Is what do you do with under pairs? How often are they c betting? And I would guess that 7s through deuces is very, very low frequency. I would be surprised otherwise. I think our bluffs will come from our suited aces. So maybe ace 5 or ace 6 of diamonds that we call, even though we probably don't have a ton of those types of combos. Anyway, neither here nor there. We can look at the sim and determine whether or not I'm correct. Once we check back and face another turn check, now we have a very clear 2-street hand.
Yeah.
Right? It's abundantly clear we have a hand worthy of 2 streets of value. Very difficult for him to double trap. I think the only hands that are going to be highly incentivized to double check maybe would be queen 10, no diamonds. Maybe queen 10 of diamonds, I guess. And then a good hand to double check here that you could work into your check raising range would be ace queen of diamonds, right? You're winning a lot through the check node, but when you face a bet, you can apply a ton of pressure because you know that imposition's capped and doesn't really ever have 2 pair. So now you get to basically put ace queen alongside your queen 10 type of holdings. You can take a lot of pair plus type hands as well. So jack 10 of diamonds is probably a good one to be check raising at some frequency. Blocking blocking basically those same hands, like blocking ace jack of diamonds, blocking
You're saying
jack
he
10 of
doesn't have
diamonds.
2 pair because those would have bet on the flop.
Correct. So we know that whenever this stab comes through on the turn, it's going to be a lot of diamond draws. It's going to be a lot of 1 pair hands. Now a lot of jack X is probably going to start betting, I would imagine. Maybe not though. I could see a world where like jack X just double checks because you can't really get value for much. So I would imagine that out of position is probably over bluffing this turn check raise. His value is just really not very heavily incentivized to double check. And I would be fine just like calling here. And then obviously like facing pot or facing 3x pot all in on the river. This is just like not a thing. There's plenty of spots to 3x pot. This just isn't one of them.
Yeah.
I would imagine that like the thing is that he shouldn't be check raising a lot of diamond hands because he's targeting the diamonds in imposition's range.
That's funny because that's something I'd start clicking buttons with.
Diamonds?
Yeah, if I had like a hand like ace queen of diamonds here.
If you had a hand like 5-6 of diamonds, fine. Because what else are you going to do with it?
Yeah, you can't win. Right.
But you don't want to. You don't really want to be blocking a lot of imposition's diamonds because what hands does he check back and then fire turn if we know that he's relatively capped at 1 pair? The majority of them are going to be hands that picked up equity, right? So it's like sometimes you're going to run into pocket 4s as being the top of his range. But outside of that, he didn't improve the 2 pair really ever. So he's very like, I don't want to say polarized because that's not really correct. He's kind of like merged where he has like a lot of 1 pair hands and a lot of diamond draws. And if you choose hands that block both of those things, then you're kind of like putting yourself in a position where when you improve, you can never get paid. And when you fail to improve, the board texture is such that all the times that he has the 1 pair type hands, they're just really good bluff catchers because they unblock all the diamonds. You know what I mean? And all the times that he has diamonds and misses, it doesn't matter. He was just going to fold anyway. So it's like you very rarely get him to fold better. And you only get him to fold, or you very rarely get him to fold better unimproved. And when you do improve, he always folds worse because now his hands went way, way, way down, right? So like when you improve to a flush, he now just has like 1 pair, no diamond in his hand because like, you know, a lot of his value unblocks your draws.
It's just weird because the in position player, the person who's out of position is rarely going to think that this person has, for one, ace king or that he checked back top pair. So I feel like bluffing on the turn just seems better.
Man, I so strongly do. What size do you think imposition should use here when check 2?
On the turn?
On the flop. I think this will help solidify why he's going to check back a lot.
Go with my lazy half pot.
I think it's 3E. If I had to guess. And 3E at this depth of 20 is going to be like 140% pot, 133% pot, something like that. Because like when you bet, you're saying I have 2 pair plus. You're betting into a very nutted range. You know, the under the gun 1 here is opening like 13%. So it's like he just has straight misses that are going to check fold, like ace 5 suited, whatever.
And if not, he's just going to be wrapped all around this.
Correct. Yeah, he's just going to have like pair plus. He's going to have 2 pairs. He's going to have sets. Like if you have queen 10, what do you want to
be open-ended?
Yeah, if you have queen 10, what do you want to do here? You want to find a way to be all in by river. Right? Same thing if you trap jacks or 9s. Like you have to build the pot, you know? And sure, you're going to get check raised at some frequency, but you can't expect it to be so high that you just go with like a half-assed half pot here and then just like let him call all of his equity. Because like think about how you would construct a check raising range. Like, do you really want to check raise jack 10 with a backdoor? It's like from an equity standpoint, it's fine, but you're also just kind of like all around the hands that you're targeting. You know what I mean? Like you're kind of just like blocking all the hands that you're targeting to fold out, like ace jack, king 10, you know, ace 10.
You kind of just want to call
these are all the hands that you want him to like call fold, call fold, whatever. And it's like you're kind of like all around it, you know? And then you were like also drawing a little bit dirty, like queen rips off. Okay, great. Now what? He has ace 10. You know what I mean? And you're forced into this weird, like when you construct a check raising range on a texture like this, you want to have hands that clearly fall into value and hands that clearly fall into bluff. And the easiest thing the easiest trap to fall into as a player is that you just have a bunch of merging taking place, right? Like if you check raise 2 pair plus, that's clear value. And if you check raise a hand like ace queen or ace 10, that's a clear bluff. But there isn't a lot of combinations of ace queen and ace 10, but there are a lot of hands that have similar properties to ace queen and ace 10, like 10x with a backdoor, i.e. 9-10, jack 10, king 10, right? There's a lot of queen x with a backdoor, so like queen jack, king queen, you know what I mean? You end up in this like weird mergy place, and now all of a sudden like you land on turn and it's very unclear what your strategy is because you started to polarize on the flop, but you don't have a polarized range on the turn, right? You just have a whole heap of hands that are like reasonable bluff catchers if this were a single bet pot, but now that it's a double bet pot, you're like, well, the fuck do I do with king queen now? I guess I check again. And this is where you'll see a lot of people make the mistake, not necessarily a mistake, but they'll make they'll take the obvious line of check raise for value and then check the turn. Right? Like they just have king queen of hearts and the turn's the 4 of diamonds and they're like, well, this is not a 4 street hand. That's very clear. So I'm now going to check and let him do what he does because I'm very rarely beaten here. But also like, I don't want to just fire it off into fucking king jack, you know? I don't want to just fire it off into a set of 9s here. Mm-hmm. I don't want to have to be bluffing on the end with king queen. So it's like, I'm going to check raise, build a pot because my hand is worthy of that. And then I'm going to check call 2 streets because he'll still have a lot of 10x. But then you just get fucked on runouts like this.
Yeah. This guy just has the nuts. I don't care what anybody says.
Well, yeah, he non-sizes. Like, there's no way all in is a thing on the river. I'm just like very confident of that. Okay, let's take a look. So out of position, pretty high c-bet frequency, 41%. You can see that it does have a lot of give-ups. So like a lot of these small pairs just give up. Yeah. The Fantastic Four is going to give up if it doesn't have a backdoor. A lot of the King X weak is going to just play protection. So it's going to do a lot of checking. You can see that, you know, as I kind of said, a lot of the King X that has like, you know, gut shots or backdoors, things of that nature, does a healthy mix of checking as well. Aces checks half the time. Ace King suited checks half the time. Ace Queen checks like 2/3 of the time.
This is villain strat on the flop.
Yeah, this is out of position strat. So not a huge robust c-bet frequency here. You can see that the equities are running incredibly close. And what this is born out of is how tight the cutoffs range is. You can see it's 25 combos to 173 for out of position. So the EVs are almost dead even at 2.5. The equities almost dead even out of position, slightly higher because he has aces and kings in full. And the EQR obviously is going to favor in position, which is what's going to lead to this range checking at a little bit higher of a frequency. It's also doing this in order to balance for...
Can you remind me what EQR is?
Equity realization. So it's also doing this in order to balance for the fact that it will struggle to realize equity if it just bet all of its good hands, right? You just have so many of these hands like small pocket pairs that if those are the only hand classes you're checking, then in position is just free to always bet, and those hands are going to have an impossible time check calling, yada, yada, yada. So when checked, yeah. So I was right. So I gave it 2 sizes. 40% comes through here a little bit. So this would be your half pot, and this is what your range looks like. Basically non-existent. Tiny little sliver where you could choose 40%. And I imagine if we just single size this one, it would just converge on the larger size. So it does choose 3E. And you can see that it's very fucking tight in how it's choosing to bet. Mm-hmm. So it's prioritizing for value sets. You can see kings, jacks, and 9s are betting at high frequency, although 9s actually get set over set so often that it checks back almost always. So 9s actually doesn't really want to get the money in, which is kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah. And notice
even jacks.
Notice the kings are in range. Like we don't always
kings. We're not planning pre, right?
No, they are.
Very little.
Yeah, maybe but like 5% of the time, but the point is that they're there.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, yeah, like jacks and 9s. So 9s are afraid of being set over set. Jacks a little bit afraid of that, but more so I think that jacks just kind of block the board in a way where his check calls aren't quite as available. And also we want to protect our pocket queens a little bit.
The nines and jacks check back does not seem intuitive at all.
Well, yeah. I mean, this board I don't think is very intuitive. I mean, look, queen 10 suited checks back at some frequency. And it's just based off the fact that if we don't check back these good hands, then we are totally stone capped on the turn. Like, look, king jack suited checks back pure. I would never check back this combo. I wouldn't even, or sorry, never mind. I'm misreading this. King 10 suited checks back pure. King jack suited bets pure. So this is kind of what I'm saying. Like, we're super capped if we're betting all of our king jack. We don't have jack 9 ever. And you could see that, like, we're betting all of our kings. So top set's getting bet pure. We're betting a lot of our jacks and a lot of our pocket 9s. And you can, as the out of position player, you can assume that these hands always bet to some degree, right? You can assume that queen 10 always bets, where in reality, like, the queen 10 of clubs, no backdoor, almost pure checks. It's only betting like 2/3 of the time, right? So I think it's like pretty reasonable. Well, we don't have to go into locking strategies just yet. But it's important to, like, understand how we're prioritizing such things. So, like, kind of as I mentioned, like 10-9 becomes our bluff instead of a hand like jack 10. Jack 10's like too high up in equity, right? And we don't want to have to deal with check raises when we have a hand like that. Whereas like 10-9 is just going to draw a little bit more cleaner. Out of position shouldn't have much 9x in range outside of pocket 9s, which we now block. And that's a good thing, right? And we're drawing to the same straight between the two of them. The difference being that, like, out of position, we'll have some jack X. Ace 10, big bluffing candidate. Ace Queen, big bluffing candidate. Ace King literally doesn't bet. I mean, it just, like, does not bet. And it's for the reasons that I kind of specified prior.
That it's not really a 3-street hand.
It's just not a 3-street hand. And the sizing that we're choosing is so large that we're just over-investing with one pair. Right? Like, we don't have aces in range, but I would guess if we had aces, it probably wouldn't bet either.
Yeah.
We'd just mostly be playing check back with these. And then you look at a hand like king queen, like I said, the equity's a lot higher. So it bets at a much higher frequency. We can handle check raising a lot more often. So when we do choose to check back here and we land on the turn, we can see that our position is going to big size more. Yeah. So the quarter, there's no reason to block it. Just doesn't serve his range. But even still, I'm a little surprised by this. I'm surprised that his betting frequency on the turn is so low. And I think that's probably a byproduct of checking back like jacks and 9s at some frequency. So, and queen 10 also. So, like, let's lock this a little bit. Whoops, filters was good. So let's have us always bet the sets and straights.
This is villain you're paying
and 2
for,
pair.
right?
No, this is us. So we're just always going to bet 2 pair plus. And we're going to lock for that. Okay. Wait. It did something I didn't want it to do. So the thing is, if you don't lock all, when you set strategies like that by whatchamacallit, then what ends up happening is it recorrects everything else. So it'll, like, try to adjust. So now it starts betting like queens at a really high frequency because your bets are so condensed to good hands. I think there's a way to reset this, right?
And top, what are you talking about? Oh,
to reset the initial node lock. I thought it was here.
Top left?
Yeah, I thought it was here, but it's...
You're missing...
It's not letting me.
There you go.
So I want to unlock all. Oh, I hit lock all. That's why. I want to unlock all. Is that not a thing? Yeah, there we go. So this should take us back to the original strategy. It did not. Come on. Help. Unlock all. There. Yeah. Oh. That's why. I'm bad at cricking buttons. I crick wrong buttons. Okay. So let's go ahead and set strategy for always betting 2 pair plus for in position. Okay, there we go. And then I want to lock all as they are. Okay, there we go. So now it's going to be, I think this is more reflective of what an imbalanced strategy would look like. Somebody who's not super cognizant of how to balance their range. And this probably seems pretty reasonable to me. So we go ahead and go with, we check. That's right. So now the turn 4 diamonds, I imagine we're going to see a ton more leading, like maybe 75% leads instead of 36%. Because now imposition's not as protected, which is what we're kind of expecting here. Yeah, so now you see, oh man. This is a great nugget for the viewers at home to visualize what happens when a range is capped. Look at the way that out of position attacks this capped range. Just straight 2E with 50% frequency.
Yeah.
Like 350% pot, fuck you, do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
And
you just don't have 2 pair plus. You just
right. And like it's really, really, really greedy. So you can see that it does it with like not just the diamond versions, but it'll just like take its ace nothing, right? And just start rocketing it off. Like all of its ace 4 just blast for 350% pot, right?
Ace 6 is
ace 8 just rockets it off, right? Like basically saying you have 1 pair and you're gonna have to call 350% pot twice. And just for exploration purposes, if you face this 350% pot, look at the call range. You're just folding 80% of range, and you're forced into a call with a hand like ace king that can't improve. It's just literally drawing fucking dead to some of the good hands that are choosing this size. Like, look, it's leading queen 10 for that size. It's leading jacks. It's leading 9s. Obviously, it's not leading kings, which becomes even more dire. It is doing it with aces, though. So it's even more dire now for ace king because, like, you don't even block a set, right? You just block 2 pair, which I'm sure it's fitting into there as well. So, yeah, you see king jack is just rifling. King 9 suited's rifling. And it becomes really difficult to handle now whenever you have a capped range. So I'm actually surprised. Oh, okay, that makes sense. So Jack 10 of diamonds is pure calling. It's going to call all of its diamond draws. King Queen suited, pure calling no matter what. Queens without a diamond is calling it a relatively high frequency. Ace Jack of diamonds is actually mixing, which is astonishing to me. Ace 10 of diamonds, like we never have because it's a pure bet on the flop. Ace 9 of diamonds, obviously pure call. Ace Queen of diamonds, also mixing, which is kind of shocking to me. You're drawing to the nuts 2 ways. Like, I would think that this would pure call over a hand like Ace King off. But I guess, like, the thing is that you block so many of his bluffs whenever you have Ace Queen of diamonds, right? Because, like, when we go back and look here at, like, what's rifling, it's so much of the Ace X suited.
Yeah.
You know?
You have to improve to win the hand so many times.
Correct. Right. But like that's a nice hand
with Ace King. You beat all those bluffs.
The thing is, that's a nice hand to fit into the call fold bucket, where like Ace King would just fit into like the call bucket. So like let's for instance see how this plays out. Let's just give it a river deuce of spades. We're probably going to mix with Ace King as well again versus all in. So you do face this all in, and yeah, it's like you just don't call anything pure. Like you just guess.
Yeah.
You know, like King Queen of clubs calls pure. That's kind of like the candidate. Anyway, you're not going to see this strategy often because people aren't going to know how to exploit cap strategies. But this is a really fucking great insight as to what you do whenever you just know a person doesn't check back 2 pair on the flop.
Yeah.
Right? Like the second that you know your opponent doesn't have Jack 9 or better in his check back range, it's just like, how can I be all in? How can I be all in? Like, there are very few hands in range that aren't trying to be all in. It's like 10s. 10s is like, we need some checks, guys.
Right.
Let's work that one in there, you know? And then like the super low stuff, right? Like 6-5 can't really play 2E. So that's why it carves out a B67 as well. But like you can just be super exploitative. And you could take like your strongest value that doesn't really need protection. So King 9's a bad example. King 9's a hand that like you have to just go 2E with because it gets counterfeit, one-liners, diamonds fall, whatever. Like that's one of the ones. But like King 8, you can just like go B67 and just like wreck in position because they mostly have Jack X. Like that's just the way the hand plays out. You know, he just mostly has Jack X in this spot. Kings, another great example, is like so strong. Aren't very many rivers that are going to put you in bad shape. And again, you're just funneling your opponent into bluff catchers. But anyway, the whole point is like very rarely does he check once he knows imposition is capped, which makes perfect sense to me, right? So this check in game is odd because, as I mentioned, none of his strong hands are really incentivized to do this. But intuitively, people will accidentally just check diamonds a lot, right? Especially diamonds with showdown value. So like Jack 10, King, or not King, 9 10, 9 8, 9 Queen, if you have it. Maybe even Ace Queen and Ace 10 to some degree. I don't know. Like it's not always intuitive to players on what they're supposed to start rocketing it with, right? So he checks, and like it looks like our guy found like a reasonable size. He went with 80% pot, right?
No, because there was 7. It was 4 into 7.
Okay, so yeah, a little bit close. You know, basically 2/3 ish. Which it looks like, you know, these sizings kind of mix. Let's just single size it for the B67. And I think that will be pretty reasonable. We'll probably bet like, you know, 25, 27% of the time maybe. And again, it's like betting is dangerous.
Yep, 25. You
know, betting is pretty dangerous here because we're capped. And you see that mostly we're just trying to drive our strat. Even though we're capped, we're still picking a pretty polar strategy here in order to put money into the pot, right? We're leaning on Ace King as being our best showdown value hand. It's not even close. And then we're betting Ace Queen as our bluff. Like this is what's driving the strategy. Our best hand is top pair, top kicker. Our best bluff is a hand that blocks top pair, top kicker or aces and is drawing to the nuts. Yeah. So we're just going to use these as our balancing mechanisms. And then you can see hands like Ace 5 of diamonds get in there, Ace 7 of diamonds, actually all Ace 7 kind of fires at some frequency. Now our small pairs start to bluff a little bit. 7s are in there a little, pocket 5s are in there. And then obviously I discredit it because we don't really have it much, but like pocket 4s is a pure bet because it's now value, right? But now our King Queen, once it decided to check back the flop, now it kind of wants to double check. Same reason Queens wants to double check in Queen Jack and Jack 10. And you can see like whatever King 10 lands here, we're happy to bet because we need some 10x in that range. And the King is strong enough now to go for value, right? Would rather pick King 10 than King Queen. We just have less of it. And it also is just like pretty nice because it unblocks the check raises.
So with like the King Queen, you check that back again because basically you not going to get a lot of value and then getting check raise is like a nightmare.
Yeah, I think this one's like too strong, right? Whereas like King 10 getting check raise is kind of whatever.
Yeah.
And you know, we'll see how it plays versus a check raise. I imagine King 10 is going to maybe start to mix. Maybe it's pure because it's top pair. But also we just have less of it, right? So if the frequencies of the hands were inversed, then we might bet the King Queen. I think it's just mostly a frequency play more so than the actual hand candidates themselves. So you can see that he's supposed to check raise the 2E. He missed that a little bit. He went too small, and that's probably why he landed with such a big size on the end. So he went smaller. I think this is like 100% pot, maybe. Oh, okay, 121%.
More, yeah.
So like pot and a quarter, give or take. Well, we should examine what does that. It's almost nothing, by the way. It's only 5% of his range. And this is kind of what I was talking about with Guap. So you can see it's not the diamonds, right? Jack 10 of clubs, Jack 10 of spades. Obviously, whatever Queen 10 he's played this way, which it looks like it's only Queen 10 of diamonds, which I kind of speculated that's one that may be incentivized to double trap. 10-9 of all varieties, including diamonds. And I imagine those are our only diamond hands. So 10-9 of diamonds, Queen 10 of diamonds is pretty much it. So we have a little bit of Jack 10 that's not diamond. We have a little bit of Ace Jack that's not diamond. A little bit of King Queen for, I guess, just straight value. Kings, obviously, for value. Ace King with no diamond. Again, you want to unblock those nut flush draws. Ace King of clubs. is getting in there a little bit because we really shouldn't have many bets with the ace of clubs, I imagine. So unblocking that or blocking that doesn't really affect anything. And yeah, like this is why I think the river is such a tremendous mistake, because like we just have no diamond coverage. We just play diamonds so differently at some other point in the hand, either the flop or the turn. We either lead flop or lead turn, but you know, the vast majority, if we go back to our betting frequencies, the vast majority of our diamonds are just going to play bet here. So if we go by filters and we look at our diamond hands, almost none of it checks, right? Like a little bit of ace nine of diamonds, and most of our ace jack of diamonds check.
Yep.
But they don't end up check raising. And mainly
because they have showdown value.
Yeah, it's showdown value, and it's because we're polarizing when we do choose to check raise, right?
Yeah.
So we're basically saying we have nuts or a hand that blocks nuts. We're not saying we're drawing.
Yeah.
Right? We want you to be drawing because you're going to have to call this large check raise and then fold every time the board doesn't change. So he raises a 21. Obviously, nothing is really pure here except for the pair pluses. So I was right. King 10 is actually a mix. Jack 10 pure continues because it's a diamond draw. All of the diamonds are going to pure continue. So ace 10 of diamonds. So if, again, we filter by diamonds, you can see none of them are going to fold. Ace 9 of diamonds actually mixes. Wow, that's shocking to me. Probably why it's such a low frequency bet. Doesn't want to get check raised. Ace 5 of diamonds, pure fold.
So ace 7.
Ace 7, pure fold. The small diamonds make sense to me. They have no showdown value and can't really improve, and they just get fucked sometimes by like Jack 10 of diamonds or whatever. Ace Queen of diamonds mixing here is shocking to me. Again, it's because there's only one to come, and it doesn't have showdown value. Like it just can't win unimproved.
Right.
And Ace 10 of diamonds, like we just don't have that much of it, which is why I'm sure it's pure continuing. So sorry, let me get off the diamond filter. So we do continue with ace king, really high frequency, ace of clubs, king. So we want to actually have the ace of diamonds a lot when we continue because he's not bluffing with it very often, and we want to be able to bluff diamond rivers. So ace of clubs, king of hearts, actually probably going to be folding a little bit more than most. Let's see, ace of clubs. There it is, king of hearts. Yeah, about 30-35% fold frequency. It's indifferent, obviously, but you know it does fold at a reasonable frequency here to this size. Okay, so let's play call. We obviously play 0 raise. What was it? Deuce of diamonds?
Three
of diamonds. Okay, not going to change anything. I would imagine this is going to be like capped. Okay, I would have thought it would be mostly the 67, 75, whatever you choose in your strategy. Because you still have a lot of hands that want to go for value. I'm really shocked to see kings pure checking. I would have thought this would have been a part of... Well, I guess it's because you're targeting ace king.
Yeah.
So when you see the hands that are betting, they're all targeting ace king with the exception of queens, which is bluffing. And it's because it solely has the queen of diamonds. But you can see all-in's just not an option at all. Even if we took out the 150%, I don't think all-in starts to get in. I think it will just all converge on like 75% pot, 67, whatever. Let's see. Yeah. So the all-in just never really an option. And it doesn't matter what size you choose. It's all coming from the exact same place. It's coming from the 10-9 of diamonds, the ace-9 of diamonds, ace-jack of diamonds, and pocket queens is your bluff. Pocket jacks is your thinnest value alongside queen 10. Oh, it's queen 10 of diamonds. So pocket jacks is your thinnest value. So you have one set.
Is that with the diamond?
It is not.
Without it.
Seems to not exist with the diamond for whatever reason. I guess we just do something different on earlier streets when we have the diamond. So it's literally we only have one combo of jacks and we're betting it about half the time. So yeah, like this should be a block bet on the end, which is still going to make, not a block bet, but like a chunky value bet, which is still going to make ace king indifferent. You can see ace king mixes between all three options, but mostly just plays call or fold. We bluff our queens. We bluff our queen jack. Or no, sorry, our queen jack makes a flush. Ace queen makes a flush. Basically, we just have like flush or nothing. And even our Jack 10 of diamonds doesn't raise all that often, right? So like King 10 becomes a pure fold. Ace King mixes. It's just such a narrow target that he's shooting at. It's crazy to go big. And if he does choose all in, which obviously doesn't really happen, you can see our hand is like a pure fold.
Yeah.
So Ace of Clubs, King of Hearts is, yeah, it's straight pure. We're kind of torching in this spot if we find ourselves calling. It says it's making like one big blind, but again, for the size of the pot, that's like a fraction of a percent, and it's probably just a little bit of solver noise. We just have way better hands to call. Like we have such clear calls, right? We just call all nut flushes.
Yeah.
We call the Jack high flush, and we call the Queen high flush. Even the Queen high flush mixes, which is crazy. That's crazy.
Wow. But it's make the Queen high flush and he just shoves you like.
Well, it's because his bluff is pocket queens with the Queen of diamonds. But you know, in reality, nobody's going to be that precise.
Right.
But I think there's a lot of merit to that, right? You only have 2 non-nut flushes, and you block a lot of his nut flushes with Jack 10 of diamonds. So it's like to block his bluffs, or where his bluffs are supposed to come from, which is the Queen of diamonds specifically, pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, don't get me wrong. Like, people play differently. He could just show up with Ace Queen and the Ace of diamonds and just rifle it off here for all of it, which I think that's his probably most natural bluff. But it's a really shitty one to pick.
Yeah.
Like, if we go back and deconstruct this entire sim, you can see that having the Ace of diamonds is a huge negative for out of position when check raising turn. But the easiest way to simplify this entire strategy is don't check turn, right? Like, if you think your opponent's capped, you don't do any checking.
No.
And when you do check, you're just carving out a very small chunk of your range to like check pot and then play rivers accordingly.
Yeah.
Diamonds, we're going to go smaller. Everything else, we're just going to be all in. Like, if we change this to the 3 of spades, he's just going to be yeeting it with a lot of his range. I imagine he probably jams like half the time, if I had to guess. Yeah, 40% shove, right? And some of his non-shoves are traps, like kings.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, I thought this was a really interesting solve. Well played by Babalus. No mistakes, I don't think. You know, we're projecting that he's not checking back flop appropriately.
Bling.
I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe he has some Queen 10 in his check back range. Maybe he has some King Jack. Who knows? It's difficult to know because he flatted a hand that he probably very rarely flats, and from a position that maybe he doesn't play that many flats either. So we're speculating from start to finish, but the big takeaway from this, from a principle standpoint, is to see how much strategy shift whenever you're able to make some pretty confident assumptions. And I can very confidently say not many people I play against check back better than one pair on the flop. Now, to be clear, we got a very specific turn card here. There are a lot of turn cards where it will not matter that they didn't check back 2 pair plus. Right? Turn could be an ace, a queen, a 10, a jack, a 9, an 8. All of those cards suddenly alter the board texture in such a way where they're no longer capped.
Right.
They're going to have a lot of very strong hands. But when the 4 of diamonds peels off, we just get the fucking blast as far as I'm concerned. I would just treat it always as that range is unprotected. And the second that somebody owns me, God bless them.
I mean, I feel like you just want to get up and give them a high five and say 300%.
Bro, if I go 3x pot and you call me down with 1 pair and are good, salute. You deserve it, my friend.
Yep.
Congrats for strapping in. You did yourself a service. All right. If you guys would like to submit your own in the muck, head over to our Discord channel. You can hit hashtag Discord in the chat or find it at onlyfriends_pod on our Twitter. It's the pinned tweet. We have an entire forum dedicated to in the muck submissions. The tortoise will choose one and we'll discuss it 4 days a week. I hope you guys are enjoying this. Don't forget, Matt Hunt's course is out. We are giving you 50% off your first month at S4Y TV if you're not already a member. This course is revolutionary. 5-way pots, 6-way pots, 7-way pots, bomb pots, they're all in there. He gives you a glimpse at how the solver deals with multi-equilibria at the same time and carves out a strategy for a bunch of nonsense ranges. Don't forget, we do have an academy this week. Thursday, we're going to begin. If there's any last minute want to fly out to Vegas, get in there, we'll find room for you. But for all intent and purposes, we're pretty much locked up. So we're going to be doing that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, which means Thursday and Friday will be a late night pod. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment below if you're enjoying this type of content. Let us know what you think. Always trying to improve, getting ready for a big summer. We're going to have a lot of guests. We're going to have Conrad maybe on the beat. We'll see. A lot of things in store for you guys this summer.
Guapo's on the beat too.
He's always on the beat. Never misses one.
That's right.
Thank you guys as always for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow, noon Pacific. Don't forget to join us from the start. We'll see you guys all then.
Peace.
Peace.